I'm a proud Democrat, and I'll be proud to carry the banner of our party into the general election. So it's with great honor and humility I accept this nomination for President of the United States of America.
There was that historic moment. No balloon drop, no applause. But last night you heard former Vice President Joe Biden officially accepting the Democratic nomination for president, telling Americans why they should vote for him come November. The moment capped off 4 nights of speeches from prominent Democrats and many others aimed at unifying the party heading into Election Day. And joining us live now from Carmel is Adam Wren, a writer for the Politico and Indianapolis Monthly. Adam, I know you were watching very closely. I want to get your take overall on how the week went, capping with that dramatic moment with the formal acceptance.
Yeah, well, it was an unconventional convention this week. You know, we saw a lot of social distancing happening on the platform, people dialing in from all parts of the country. In a lot of ways, it showcased, particularly the roll call vote on Tuesday, it showcased a lot of, interesting parts of the country, not just a convention hall. Joe Biden's speech last night was fairly remarkable for how it sort of indicted the president. He really presented himself as everything opposite that our current president is in terms of, talking about humility, talking about how the president has responded to the virus. It was really a fascinating week with a lot of Indiana shout outs. On Monday, the young girl who sang the national anthem was a Hoosier. Of course, Pete Buttigieg last night spoke, the former mayor of South Bend. So a lot of really interesting Indiana moments throughout the week.
I mean, Biden has he didn't have a lot of work to have to do to set up the contrast between himself and the president. The contrast is pretty dramatic here, but still, did you feel like he found the moments to be able to accentuate that, trying to put history on his side and contrast his leadership style versus the personality of President Trump?
Yeah, I mean, he really sort of tried to appeal to a broad slice of the electorate. Essentially, he said, look, if I'm elected, the first thing that I'm going to do is get this virus under control. He sort of also grieved with people who have lost someone during this pandemic, people who have lost jobs, and tried to demonstrate empathy, which is something we haven't objectively seen from the current president. And so he really sort of, I thought, put the virus and people's combating of the virus really at the center of his speech.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus there with trying to find some comedic moments and some important moments. You had a nice video from Braden Harrington from New Hampshire, who lives with a stutter, something Joe Biden battled when he was a boy here. What are you looking forward to when President Trump formally accepts his nomination at the RNC next week? And how do you think that those two showcasing political moments will sort of differ from one another?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm actually looking forward to the Republican convention more than the Democratic convention. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting in terms of the jockeying that we see happening for the 2024 presidential race on the Republican side. You have figures like Mike Pence, our former governor here, who are very interested in a possible presidential run, coming up against people like former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and also Donald Trump Jr. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch. Indiana has a lot of ties to the current Republican administration, whether it's Jerome Adams, the Surgeon General, or Seema Verma, the director of the Center for Medicare and Diseases. And so it'll be really interesting to see if any of those Hoosiers have kind of a prime speaking slot or a role in the convention next week.
A lot of players to watch both this week and next week at the RNC. Adam Wren, good to talk to you. Thanks for your perspective. We appreciate it as always.
Good to be with you.
All right. Have a good weekend. All right.